ready. Well, I was hoping to wait for Trustee Shoemaker.
We can, let me make sure Scott's ready.
Okay.
I don't see him out in the parking, so.
I'm going to be out Friday, yeah, but I can answer in the morning.
Oh, yeah, let's see what that is down. Yeah. Mike's.
Pull your mic towards you.
Mike.
It's
Go ahead.
No.
Scott's ready.
Pull it down.
Scott's
I
ready?
think you just
Okay.
turned it off.
Scott's ready. We don't see Richard.
All right. Trustee Cavness, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And Judy, can you take the roll call, please?
Yes, I will. Mr. Kelly,
Present.
Ms. Cavness,
here.
Mr. Haschak,
Present.
Mr. Cromer,
Here.
Mr. Shoemaker is absent. Ms. Harris, also absent
By prior.
by prior arrangement. Mr. Swope,
Here.
Ms. Covison,
Here.
and Mr. Land.
Here.
Thank
The
you.
Mendocino County Board of Retirement meeting for June 18th, 2025 is called to order at 8:32 a.m. And members of the public are welcome to address the board on subjects both on and off the agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person and will be allowed at the time an item is discussed. Individuals wishing to address the board under public comment are welcome to do so per the instructions above, which is, okay. Is there any public comment at this time?
There is none.
All right, that will take us to item number 1, the consent agenda. All matters on the consent agenda are to be approved by one action without discussion unless a board member requests separate action on a specific item. Does anybody wish to discuss or pull any items from the consent agenda this morning? Seeing nobody, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent. And that brings us to item number 2, investment matters. Robert Ravelis, Retirement Financial Investment Officer.
Trustees, you have the preliminary monthly investment performance report in front of you. I wanted to make a few comments. We ended the year at an all-time high, so that's very nice. Everybody will be happy about that. We had a good year in terms of our public fixed income and equities, as you can see with the total fund performance for the year in terms of the publics at 12.21%. I do expect that to go up a few basis points, maybe 20, 30 basis points once we get the final numbers for infrastructure and real estate. So that's a positive thing. I also wanted to give a brief update on the real estate manager search, just to let the board know that we're planning on bringing 6 or 7 different strategies to the board for consideration next month between the Core Plus and the Core. It may be 3 and 4 of each for board review. We have reviewed 16 strategies in total, and those have been sort of whittled down into 3 or 4 apiece. So we'll be bringing that next month. Look forward to that discussion. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have a question about that. On the investment manager returns, and it's broken, we have a lot of indexes and, they were performing well, and then we have the other, really the active managers, seems. Is it possible to get a breakdown of the fees associated with each one? Because that would give us a truer comparison of how they're performing.
Sure. These are all reported net of fees, just so you're aware. we can definitely bring some sort of breakdown. That breakdown is typically shown in our annual financial report as well, just so you know. So
Okay.
you could, I forget the page number exactly that it's on, but that's broken down really as an estimate because of the nature of these fees. So yes, I can do that. If the trustees would like to see that, we could bring an estimate for that. Outside of the annual financial report, I could probably bring that to the next meeting if the board so desires.
So these percentages include the fees, and it's what the actual net is.
These are net of fees, yeah. So
Okay.
the fees are deducted from all of these numbers that we see here.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a good year.
Absolutely. Are there any other comments or discussion on this item? Seeing none, do we have, is there any public comment on this item?
There does not appear to be.
Okay, this is just informational, so we'll move on to item number 3. Cash flow projection for fiscal year 25-26 and 26-27. Robert Ravelis, Retirement Investment Officer.
Trustees, you have the cash flow projection report here, and I'd like to share my screen if possible. I believe I'm in the meeting, but I don't see the ability to do that yet.
Looks like you need to be promoted. So you should have received a panelist
Yep.
invitation.
All right. Let's see here. Bear with me, thank you. And we'll go here. And let's see, we've got that. If I can figure out how to do this the right way. Now, do I have a full screen option somewhere? Is that as big as we're gonna get?
Does the
This guy, maybe? Oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go. Great. All right, trustees. So this report is very similar to the reports you've seen the last couple years. It's a 2-year forward projection based off our best estimates as of a few weeks ago. So I do want to notice you that this report was basically fully compiled a couple weeks ago before I had final numbers for year end. So there are some projections for fiscal year 25, of course. 26 and 27. I just wanted to make that clear. But most of these slides you've seen in the past. I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time on most of them unless trustees had a specific question related to any of them. There are some new slides that I did want to show at the end of the report. But this report here is probably combining everything that is the biggest concern to us. This shows our benefits paid, refunds, administrative fees, and contributions all on one chart here. So you can see the majority of the cash needs are for benefits here. We can see the contribution line, that blue line is just below what our benefits are being paid out. So you can see that blue line's below the benefits paid, the purple bars here. And we've got refunds and administrative fees on the top. This table here is the table behind the previous chart. So these are just, these are simple sum numbers. The net cash outflow is just the sum total of the difference between benefits paid, refunds, administrative fees, and contributions. So this is just a mathematical sum. It's not actually what I would consider our cash needs to be. That number is a different number. It's farther in the slide. But it sort of gives you a sense of where we're trending. And we basically have trended around $8 to $9 million over the last decade. We've been relatively stable. The next slide is the monthly benefit.
Robert, real
Sure,
quick.
sure.
There's a significant change in the net cash between projected 25 and 20 and year 26. I assume those are fiscal years, or are those calendar years?
Yeah, those are calendar years.
Not fiscal.
Oh, I'm sorry, those are fiscal.
I'm just wondering why, from 9/8 to 6/1, why would there be such a large projected difference there?
Because of the contributions. We're expecting the contributions to
Oh, okay.
up. Now,
Yeah.
even though that
Probably is
number,
right there.
even though that number is, lower at the 6.1, I don't actually expect that number to be 6.1.
Right.
And we can get to that. That's a little bit later in the slide. But if you were to just, mathematically balance it out to 0, that would be the number.
Okay.
Our actual need is higher than that. Monthly benefit payments, again, projection. This is an interesting slide because you can see the refunds that have been going on over the last few years. And, there's a couple standout refund months here, and those are directly related to the Alameda project on one side and the VCP project on the other. There may even be one or two deaths that we've had that were significant as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But, that correction project's done, so I think going in the future, hopefully we see those, sort of trending down. Because that is a significant part of our actual cash draw, is having the deaths when there's a long tenured employee that passes away. The next slide here shows our monthly sponsor contributions. You can see there's some large spikes and some dips there. Those are accruals. The dips are the accruals in July, each July. And the spike there is the third pay period that we have each year. Which is twice a year, I'm sorry. Yeah, twice a year.
Third pay period. What's the significance of the third?
We do
26.
26 pay periods a year, so
Yeah.
in 2 months during the year,
Oh.
3 paychecks are issued.
Of course.
And that's the spike you see in the contributions, because we're recording it on an accrual basis. Or on
I got you. Yeah.
Next slide, we've got the administrative expense here, and you can see that that's sort of slowly trended up over time. And we sort of we expect that to continue going forward. This is the slide that I would consider to be our cash needs here. This is the investment sales for operations that we actually need. And so you can see that basically we're trending between $8 and $10 million for the last decade, roughly here. The reason why we need to have extra cash around, and why these numbers, $8 to maybe $9 million a year, is greater than what's projected on the second slide with the table, is because we have to actually have cash around in time every week, making sure that we pull as little as possible and we have as much as possible. Judy can attest that I'm always saying, hey, how much are these refunds going to be? What's this number? I really need to know that as soon as you have it. And so this, in my view, is really the number that we need, which is about $9 million per year to cover operations, benefit payments, and refunds.
So this chart shows that right.
That's right. Yeah. About $9 million a year is what that number is today.
But this year it grew by 77 million, right? The
Well,
investment.
this year it actually went down a little bit, the cash needs.
No, but the overall investment went up by 77 million.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
so-
Yeah, and so that net number reported would have been $9 million more had we not needed to pull that additional funding to make those refunds and administrative expenses and benefit payments in total.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But I think your point was that the portfolio was growing faster than the amount of cash we had to pull out to cover our benefit payments.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is going to be in another slide here. I think we're coming up pretty close to it. We're nearing the end. Here is the comparison of cash to net position. I like this 200 grand lower than $300,000. I prefer to have that number be as low as possible. We want to have no cash drag or very little cash drag. And you can see if you look at that ratio, we've basically been able to do that really since 2019. We've done a good job of that. 22 and 23 are sort of outliers here. The reason being in 22, we had an additional payroll in June. So that wasn't actually money that we needed to pull. That was money that came in from the plan sponsors. That's why that 1.6 million is so large. In 2023, we had almost $500,000 in cash distributions from our real estate funds, and that's the reason why this number is relatively high, I would say, at $677,000.
And just to point out, this is a snapshot in time at just what the value was at June 30, but it's obviously changing up and down every month. The goal is to keep a bit of a buffer there in case we have some unexpected payments that arise that we would cover from our cash pool. But he tries to keep it around the 200,000 mark.
The third to last slide here is a comparison of net cash outflow to net position. So this is taking the net cash outflow on the second page from that second page table, and that's comparing it to our net position. This is a good metric to know because this sort of lets us know that really we need to use about 1.25% of our investment fund per year to essentially pay for the operations and net negative cash flow to the system.
There is a trend here that I'd like to point out, and Robert was probably going to get to it. What you see is that we've been trending downward a little bit, and if you go back even further, that's even more pronounced. At one point, we pulled out more than 3% of the portfolio, and this means that because of higher contributions coming in from members and employers, and also the significant increase in value, that ratio of negative net cash to our net position has decreased over time. Negative net cash flow is a maturity metric, and generally they say you don't really need to be concerned about negative net cash flow as long as your negative net cash flow is below 3.5%.
So it looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, we're not positive, but most of the plans in the state aren't. I think there might be one or two that are still running cash flow positive, meaning they're taking in more in contributions than benefits paid out. But most of the plans here are mature enough that you're seeing at least some cash draw, which Robert's going to go into more detail on the following slide. Sorry.
No, thank you, Doris. And so these last two slides are slides that we added at Doris's request. And this is a comparison of our total cash outflow to net position. So this total cash outflow is the combination of all of our benefit payments, all of the administrative expenses, all of the refunds that the system is required to pay. So that basically lets us know every year all the dollars that the system has to output. And it compares that number to our net position, which of course is the net amount of investments that we have. And you can see that actually that ratio is pretty stable. It goes up and down. You know, in 2021, we had a large increase in assets, and so we see that number drop down. And you know, when we first started talking about making this slide, you know, my immediate reaction to this number of 7% is, okay, well, that's great to know, but, you know, so what? You know, how do we actually, you know, compare to other systems? Now, you know, you don't want to always compare every aspect of every system to each other because they're all unique, right? Everybody's in a different position in terms of maturity or assumptions for the plan. Everybody has different demographics, different hiring characteristics within their populations, right? But I immediately think, well, what do the other systems sort of look like when we talk about this net cash outflow position? And so that's what's charted on this final slide here. The last slide is just a graphical representation of other systems that we typically compare ourselves to, whether that's a salary study. So we've got some of the folks here from our salary study comparator agencies. We've also got some of the bigger systems here, just to sort of give the board a little bit of sense of where we are with regard to other systems. And so there's a few things that stand out when I look at this final chart here. The first thing that stands out is in 2015, there's quite a bit of dispersion right here. The lowest is around 5%, the highest almost at 10%. And as we trend forward in time, these numbers begin to compress. So I think that's interesting, just as a general characteristic. This top line here is Merced, and so you can see that Merced has trended down, which I think most people would generally agree is a good thing on this chart. You want to see stability, number one, right? So you want to see the line not moving up and down from left to right significantly. But certainly going down here is a good thing for the system. We, of course, are the green line here that I tried to make a little bit bigger, and you can kind of see we've been pretty stable here at about 7% over the period. Of course, this big drop here in 2021 is your eyes drawn to that, and that basically means that assets have increased significant relative to benefit payments, right? So we know that in 2021 we had a huge 31% return, and other systems with a June 30 period experienced that as well. So that's what this dip is. Going down isn't necessarily a bad thing. That means that your denominator went up, which is a good thing.
So like Imperial's probably the second smallest system, and they're really the winner.
Well, in many
They're
ways,
stable.
they are significantly different from us in their maturity. They are not as mature as our plan, if I recall correctly. But you can see they are hovering right around 5% of assets, and we're hovering around 7% if you look at that average over that 10-year period. Obviously, the downward trend for Merced was due to some sort of asset growth over that 10-year period. We haven't done any research to find out if that was just better investments or if they had a POB funding or anything like that went into it. But obviously their assets went up and their total payments trended down as a percent of the net position of the plan.
Well, and I would comment on that. Merced has a very complicated investment portfolio for their size. And my interpretation of that is they're trying to catch up. They're not
seeking return.
they're very risk seeking. They're not as well funded as we are. They're quite different, and they're really trying to juice their returns, specifically through privates. That's a whole nother, debate, but that is my interpretation when I look at their portfolio. It's, I'm thinking, really? Wow. A little bewildered sometimes.
Yeah, their investments are
Risky.
much more complicated or than some of ours. A lot of private hedge
Yeah.
alternative assets that we're not into right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were doing that to seek some risk return.
Yeah. And so two other things I also want to comment on real quick here. If you look at Tulare is this sort of darker colored line, not the black line, it's kind of a gray, like a darkish gray. But you can see this dip right here, right? You can see there's somewhere around 6%, and then they dip down this bit here, and they sort of stabilize a little bit, although the line tends to rise from 2018 forward. This dip right here, that was the county of Tulare issuing a $250 million POB. So that's why you see this big drop. There's an additional $250 million that gets deposited into the Tulare fund from 2017 to 2018.
Wow.
And so that's that. The other one that sort of stands out to me when I look at this is actually Stanislaus, which you can see they're a little bit below 6% here in 2015, and their line actually goes up. You see that? So yeah, their line definitely goes up. And so one of the things that I looked at is basically the compound growth rates of their investment, their net position, and their cash outflow. And when you look at that number, that their cash outflow has been growing at almost 7% over this period. Meanwhile, their investment fund has grown around less than 5%. And so, that's an interesting thing to note. This is not necessarily the kind of line that I would want to see personally. You don't, when your cash outflow is growing at a significantly larger rate than your investment or your net position, that's something that can't go on forever. That, I would be expecting them to address that. And they're absolutely the outlier in that sense when we look at this. For us, our system is right around 6% on both of them. So we're about 5.95% net asset growth, compound growth rate, and our benefits have been growing at 6%. So we're very close to even, and that's sort of reflected in our line here. Yes, we go up and down, but the left side and the right side of these lines are basically in the same spot.
That's impressive. No.
So that's a good thing. Yeah, that is good. Like stability in this type of chart is what we would want to be seeing. And that's the end of the presentation, trustees.
Do we have
I'm happy
any-
to answer any questions.
Any questions? Comments? I would say I found these slides to be really useful, and I ask these questions in my head a lot, and I'm going to refer back to this very frequently, I think. So thanks for putting this one together. I am curious why there's 2 frogs on the cover page, though. I get the
Because
target
he
thing,
took last year's cat off.
but I didn't see. Okay.
That we presented the cash flow report to the board.
This is the
Fourth year?
fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had it last year.
We did,
Yeah.
and it's every July.
Okay.
Returns are jumping.
That explains it, because I've missed some Julys. Because I haven't asked, like I said, I've asked some of these questions in my own head, and it's very useful. So do we have any further comments or questions for Robert? Okay, is there any public comment?
There is none.
All right, that will bring us to Board Policy Review. Doris Rentschler, Executive Director.
Thank you, Chair Land. We have two policies for the board's review today. I wanted to first mention that in the board election policy, the edits for this time are actually just the one in red. The one showing in blue was actually from the prior policy that was adopted. Paragraph F on page 4, that about Form 700 economic interest, that existed in our last policy, but the red portion of that is an addition to clarify when a candidate has to file that, or when they wouldn't necessarily have to file that. So these were relatively minor changes. We had been looking at potentially doing some other changes, but after discussion with council, we decided not to. So this really was relatively minor edits to that policy. The blue text was in the last version. And then in addition to that, we have the succession planning policy. This policy was not due for its normal review, but we are updating it to incorporate the new retirement accountant position that's being created that was in this year's budget as part of the succession plan and backup for the retirement finance investment officer. So that's really the only addition at this point in time. This policy doesn't indicate how we would address a vacancy or an absent in the accountant position right now. That might be something we add in the next round of revisions to it, but it was just to add that position as part of the backup plan for the investment officer. If you have any questions regarding either of those policies, I'd be happy to answer those now. This is the only other action item on the agenda. It would require a motion.
All right, is there any discussion on these items?
Well, it seems like they're pretty straightforward, and I would move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Judy, would you like to poll the members on their vote?
Yes. Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Kavanagh?
Aye.
Mr. Haschak?
Aye.
Mr. Cromer?
Aye.
Mr. Swope?
Aye.
Ms. Cubison? Aye. And Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you.
Okay, that will bring us to item number 5, quarterly board priorities work plan and strategic calendar update. Doris, Executive Director.
Thank you, Chair Land. This is the quarterly board work plan, and we've added a couple of items at the bottom, which are the agreed upon procedure audits that will be completed over the next 2 fiscal years, starting with the fiscal year we're in. It does show some of the progress made on some of the other board agenda items, or rather board strategic plan items. We have published our second in the series of member educational short videos to our website, and that's reflected on this report. There's no significant changes as far as the annual calendar, which was included as the last page of the work plan document. And then, pardon me, I also included the achievements that have occurred in the last fiscal year as far as board work plan items. And I've broken all of those accomplishments out by the goal that they support. It's the second attachment to the agenda item. It's a separate document labeled Board Work Plan Highlights for the fiscal year. And I just wanted to bring to folks' attention the work of the board that's been accomplished. If you have any questions regarding that, I'm happy to entertain those now. Additionally, I will be bringing back modifications or suggested changes to the strategic plan and some of the success measures and objectives and new projects to add to the board work plan. And if I could get some direction, I'd like to know whether you'd like to hear that within the next couple of months or so, or if you'd like to hold that until the February offsite. If there's no comments about the board work plan or the accomplishments, I did want to just take the time to make a couple of other announcements. The other day, I did send out an email to trustees with a link to the board performance evaluation. That will be done electronic survey as opposed to a form that you need to complete and email back to me. You just do it online. So that survey link has been sent out. It is also posted to the board SharePoint site. I'd like responses on the board performance evaluation by August 20th so I can provide the results of that at the September meeting. And actually, that's the only announcement I have. So that's it unless you have additional comments or questions.
Do we have any discussion or questions this time?
Well, I'll just say from my point of view of being new, that having this work plan and the calendar, it was very interesting to go through it and to see what is happening in the timelines and everything. So I found it useful to go through and have that laid out right in front of me.
I'm glad.
Okay, any further comments? Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment?
All right, that will bring us to item number 6, annual unrecovered benefit contributions report. Judy Zeller, retirement analyst.
Well, this is the required annual report of any over or underpaid benefits to members. This could be our retired population, inactive population receiving refunds. In this report, we note that there were 2 overpayments in the last fiscal year. One was due to a retiree's death, and the other one was due to an inaccurate processing of a lump sum refund to an inactive member.
A record
And does that bring us to item 7? Then, wait, did we went through board discussion
Let's make sure
on
we're
6?
back.
Okay.
So we should be back. We were just finishing the annual unrecovered overpayments.
Right. And I was going to comment on that item, that the $1,105 seems very low, actually, in terms of the spectrum of mistakes and errors and, unreported deaths and all that, all the things that can happen. That seems like a pretty good number to me.
Chairlane, I was happy to see that you guys included information about when we would have sent the next notice for the member that did die. So you're basically saying that our process would have worked had the bank account not been closed and then the deposit been returned. So I was happy to see that the process we have moving forward would have hopefully caught that in the next month after that.
Yeah, the biggest risk, of course, is a timing issue with someone's death and not being able to be notified and stop a payment. Most of those we do end up recovering back from the bank or the family or estate of the decedent. Every now and then you have one where something happens and we're not able to get the funds returned. Having roughly $1,000 in unrecoverable payments is not bad, in my opinion.
Okay, is there any public comment on item 6?
There is no public comment.
All right. Moving right along, that brings us to item number 7, the administrative report. Doris Rentschler, Executive Director.
Thank you. On the administrative report, I provided some feedback from the county's health, wellness, and retirement webinar, since this was the first time that we had participated with the county on that. I do appreciate Wellness's willingness to let us join into their webinar, and the next one will be held on September 18th. MCERA does have an election that will be announced right after this meeting as far as the opening of the nomination period. We have 2 seats that are up for election, that being the safety seat and one of the general member seats. I believe the fall election schedule is attached as a separate document to this if you want to see the timeline for it. The election will be run so the member can be sworn in for the December meeting. Our terms run December through November. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Once again, staff received the GFOA Achievement for Excellent in Financial Reporting for our comprehensive annual financial report for the period ending June 30, 2024. And I would just like to express my thanks to Robert for all of his work, getting all that in order and published and submitted to the GFOA in a timely manner.
Okay, do we have any board discussion on these items? Seeing none, is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
All right, that will bring us to item number 8, the general board discussion. Does anybody have any items in general that they would like to discuss? Okay, I did have one item. I did listen to the last meeting where I was gone, and I did hear references to the chair position come up in regards to where the offsite meeting should be held, and I don't think that's something that the chair would decide by himself or herself. But if they did, I would lean towards the Redwood Valley site as being the most available, easiest to get to, and so I wanted to offer that opinion.
Okay. A final decision on that had not been made, even though it was discussed at the last meeting. If there is a strong preference, I seem to recall Trustee Haschek also preferred the Redwood Valley Training Center because it's costs significantly less than the other venues. and I'm happy to proceed with booking wherever the board would like.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the reasons. It is February, weather is an issue, and it would be easy to get to in, you know, if there happen to be any kind of storm situations. Anybody who can get here can get there. I think a preponderance of people will actually live closer to that item, that area than here. So from a logistics point of view, and from a cost point of view and all that, it seemed like the most reasonable one to have our first offsite since I've been on the board.
Okay.
All right, was there any other general board discussion items?
Before we move on, I did mention that I would like some direction on whether or not the board would like to have me bring back an update to the strategic plan with some new items to add to the board's work plan prior to the February offsite, or to make it part of the February offsite.
I did hear that, and I didn't understand it, and I felt like it was lingering out there.
My apologies if I was obviously less than clear.
You were clear, but it didn't sink in, so maybe you could review what our options are there.
So the original strategic plan was drafted in 2022 and was for fiscal years ending June 30, 23 through June 30, 27. So we're not doing an entire overhaul, but I do have some edits. There are a few objectives, like decide whether or not to add a position on ESP to our investment policy report, that were actually listed as a specific objective. And I'd like to remove some of those lesser relevant things now and put in new objectives and new success measures that tie to some suggested work plan projects to move the board's overall goals forward. None of the goals would be changed. The 4 strategic plan goals would remain unchanged. It would just be a modification to some of the success measures to remove things that have already been accomplished and add some new things to work on as part of public knowledge of what our strategic plan process will be moving forward. So I have something that could come back in, say, September-ish or thereafter, or we could wait and maybe cover it in February if the board prefers.
Does anybody have a preference as to whether we would want to see that in September or in February?
I would prefer to see it in September.
Okay. It's just about ready to go, so I'm happy to bring it in September if the board prefers, but I did want to give you the option of putting it out to your educational offsite meeting if that was the board's preference.
The agenda for the offsite, I don't think we have really
We have not
finalized
set that yet,
anything, and
correct.
so I was considering that to be about completely up to the staff to come up with that agenda.
We will put together an agenda, and I will bring it back for some feedback from the board on some of the potential topics and speakers, et cetera, that would be planned for that. But that is not available yet.
So
But we will be working on that.
We have 2 opinions, and I don't have a strong opinion either way, so I'll go with the 2 and throw my opinion behind theirs.
So the
So
second
let's-
opinion from
yeah.
that end of the table, which I didn't hear, was also bring it back earlier
Yeah.
in September. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll aim for
September.
probably September, because I believe we have a few things already on the October agenda, but we'll bring it back for the end of the year. Great, thank you.
All right, and is there any other board discussion items? I did have one other item, which had to do with the evaluation that we were sent out, the trustee evaluation.
The board performance
Yeah,
evaluation.
board performance evaluation, and I have begun mine. And one of the questions on there, I don't know if it's okay for me to reveal that,
Absolutely.
was about improvements to the meetings. And I think we can put on there, let's tighten up whatever went wrong with the microphones.
I think
Yeah,
we
it's-
will reorder the table and try to avoid having anybody sit where the power cord is,
Right.
but we will also potentially look at ways to lock that down so it doesn't get disconnected.
Okay. Unless there is other board comment?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
That I was looking at the calendar, and the Callan Regional Workshop is on October 30th in San Francisco, or the Sackers is the fall conference is in Huntington Beach in November. And I was just wondering if if people were going to those.
I believe there are some trustees who may attend the Sackers event. I believe Robert and I both plan to attend the Fall Sackers Conference. I did not attend the spring one. At this point, I don't know anybody attending the Callan workshop in October in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So since Sackers was brought up, I would really strongly encourage at least one trustee to attend. I think those conferences are really valuable. I mean, we saw a couple of charts today about some of the other systems, and it gives you an opportunity to meet some of the other trustees from the other systems and hear what's going on kind of firsthand. And I think those are like the best conferences you can really attend because they're really focused on 37 Act, public pension plans, of course, in general, but you really have an opportunity to see what your counterparts are doing.
I would second that. I do intend to go to the Sackers Fall Conference, and I went last year, and I would say it's a great experience. This one's a little further. This is not drivable distance.
I think you might have attended the Calipers.
No, I did that one
event?
too.
Okay,
I did Sackers,
Great.
Calipers.
Sackers,
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
but I did see it at Calipers apparently, so.
Yeah, I went. Yes, I did go to that in Napa.
Oh, I'm glad you found
And-
both of those
right.
valuable.
And I would recommend both of them. I intend to do both of them again next year, depending on the status of item.
The election?
Well, the election status. But I would second that that's a great idea. One of the items on consent was, I believe, the trustee education. I suggest everyone take a look at that and make sure that your name is, that your level of education is getting close to.
I would like to point out that right under each trustee's name is their 2-year reporting period, because people come on and off the board at different times. But what you'll notice on that report is there's a total per year. So you would need to add your relevant time period together in order to obtain your total number. If you just go to the very end of the report and look at that, you're only looking at the 2025 total. And you don't want to think, I don't want the public to think that people are significantly deficient on their reporting for a 2-year period. That's only the 1-year total. You have to add in the 2024 total, and you may have to pick up the 2023 hours depending on when someone's 2-year period started.
And one comment on the report, due to the differences in reporting periods for trustees, we're actually working on reformatting that report so it's a little more user-friendly, and we'll be bringing a version back for your approval in the near future.
I have a question. This is kind of a terrible question, but some of us, like myself, it's difficult for me to attend the total Sackers conference. So is it acceptable to go to a couple of days or one day or something like that?
Yes, you don't have to attend the entire Sackers conference. It's not that uncommon at systems where I've worked where they may go for the first day and leave, or maybe just Wednesday, Thursday, but not be there for the half day on Tuesday and not there for Friday. So we certainly can accommodate that when we register you. The registration fee, I believe, for the conference is the same, but you wouldn't incur additional hotel costs. That would be savings.
Well, that's good to know. I thought it was kind of a terrible question because we want to encourage people to go, and then I'm saying, well, but maybe that more people would want to go if it's difficult to do the whole 4 days.
Honestly, by the time you get to the Friday morning session, the main conference hall where the general keynote speakers are is much less populated than it is, in the earlier days. So that's not uncommon to see people come in and attend for the period that they can and then leave. I think, Jeff, you left a day early or something because you were interested in primarily the attorney section. So yeah, absolutely you can.
Okay, thank you.
And the sooner you can decide whether or not you want to go and what days you're interested in, the better. Because as soon as those hotel rooms become available, I have to book the minute I get that notice, or you're not going to get a room
Right.
at the conference hotel.
Yeah.
This is my notice. I can send you an email.
You
with
can
that.
add Alex and Robert and I already to your list. We know.
Yeah.
And Jeff, all right.
Okay.
But yeah, please feel free to email Judy with your, if you're not going to cough up a decision right now, whether or not you would like to attend the Sackers conference, and if you plan to stay the whole time, arriving on Tuesday and leaving on Friday.
You can always cancel the reservation.
Speaking of education, I wanted to mention also to trustees, in the event maybe you don't want to spend as much time as a 3 or 4 day trip down to Southern California, there is a institutional forum that I've been attending the last few years that usually is somewhere in Northern California, whether that's Sacramento or Berkeley. It's called the Markets Group Northern California Institutional Forum. It is a 2-day event primarily focused on investments, different parts of investments. So it doesn't have quite as wide-ranging pension fund topics as like a Sackers would, where you would have a lot of different opportunities to learn about different parts of the pension system environment. This is more focused towards investments, investing. But it is an event that I attend. It's a great event, and it's within drivable distance. So it's also 2 days.
What did they focus on? Theory or modeling? I mean,
it does not get down to the level of modeling out how you might actually implement something in practice, but it does have significant depth in terms of topics, a lot of different varied topics, everything from different asset classes to different strategies, regional, economic, macro discussions. So but it is heavily focused on just investments. There's very little or no actuary talk. There's very little legal discussions, HR people discussions. It's focused on investments. But I just wanted to throw that out for trustees. That would be a great opportunity as well if you are interested in only investment education.
Thank you.
I can send anybody who wants the agenda. Anybody wants that, let me know and I can forward it to you.
And that comes up in December?
It is December 8th and 9th of this year.
do they actually set up some type of hotel?
We would set that up. We would set that up. Yeah. It's a Monday and Tuesday.
I
Yeah, that's
think
cooperative.
you get it by invitation, right? Okay. But they probably recommend a hotel that's nearby.
Yeah, it's at the Claremont Club in Berkeley.
Chair,
Yes.
I was going to say this, but about the consent calendar and the quarterly member engagement metrics. And I noticed that there was a lot of very positive comments for the staff about how they interact with questions and everything. When people call in, it seemed like they were very pleased with their interactions. So.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I've been expanding the information that we provide in our engagement metrics to include everything from newsletter statistics, member direct usage, our customer service survey, how many hits certain of our web pages receive, and our YouTube content, which is relatively new slide added to this that shows the number of views of the videos and items that we have posted to our website for members, and also our board meeting views. So that information is now part of the expanded engagement report.
Okay, is there any further general board discussion? Okay, that will bring us to item number 9, which is closed session. Is there any public comment before we go into closed session?
There is no public comment?
Okay, then we will go into closed session now. Okay, report out from item number 9, closed session. On the closed session agenda, item 9, the board met in closed session and gave the executive director her performance evaluation. And that brings us to item 10, actually, item 11. So I misspoke when I said item 9. No, I didn't. Adjournment and notice of next Board of Retirement meeting. The next Board of Retirement meeting will be held in the Mendocino County Employees Retirement Association Boardroom, 625B Kings Court, Ukiah, California, on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025, at 8:30 a.m. The meeting is adjourned at 10:03. That's a wrap.
Next meeting will likely be long, just because we do have the consultant coming in for the
Yeah.
quarterly.